The flashing red and blue lights sliced across the surface of Pine Ridge Lake, shattering the calm night like someone had thrown a handful of glass into the water. And I was just standing there on my dock, hands gripping the rail of my boat, my pride, my freedom, the one thing I'd busted my back for years just to own. When the sheriff's cruiser crawled up the gravel, Karen, queen of the HOA, already had her arms folded so tight, I thought she might snap herself in half. "There it is," she shrieked before the deputies even opened the door, pointing at my boat like it was a crime scene. "He doesn't belong here. Neither does that floating eyesore." My stomach nodded, but I didn't say a word. I just held on tighter to the boat rail, the old motorboat Dad and I dreamed about on fishing trips back when summers lasted forever. The deputies looked at me, looked at her, then at my boat, and for a second all you could hear was cicadas screeching like even they felt awkward. Finally, one deputy took out a notepad. "All business, sir. Can we see the registration for this vessel?" Karen already had her phone up, recording with a grin like she'd just caught a bank robber. But she didn't know what I had in my tackle box. I pulled out my laminated card and handed it over, heartbeat kicking like a drum in my ears. The deputy scanned it slow, careful, then turned and fixed Karen with a look that wiped the smile right off her face. That was the moment her smug little mask cracked, when he cleared his throat. She looked so pale I thought she'd drop right there. But let me back up a sec, because you need to know how this were started. I bought this old cabin 2 years ago after scraping through 1,000 lifeless shifts where nobody even remembered my name. It was my peace, a place to remember Dad. Out on the quiet side of the lake, and what made it possible was no HOA. I didn't pay their fees, didn't care about their rules on mailbox paint or grass height. But Karen thought the lake was her kingdom. She'd march over to complain about my fire smoke, then my American flag, and then my boat. Just a simple white motorboat. Nothing fancy. Just memories waiting to be made with my nieces and nephews. Karen hated it. She said it was a hazard to her view, needed HOA approval. Never mind, I didn't live under her jurisdiction. I tried kindness, offered her tea, a place to fish. Didn't work. One Saturday, I came back to a neon orange, illegal boat, slip taped to my door. Signed by President Karen. I laughed, tore it down. Tossed it. Big mistake. Karen didn't like being ignored. Next weekend, I'm out fishing, and there she is on the bluff, binoculars out, like she's tracking a fugitive. I waved. She pulled out her phone instead. That night, deputies roll up, so here I am, face to face with the law, Karen gloating. The deputy holds up my registration, checks the boat, then looks me square in the eye, says, "This registration looks current to me." Karen gasped. That's when everything shifted. And just like that, a door opened. "Harris, the deputy." Checked my driver's license, matched the number. Karen's phone dropped a bit, red recording light flickering. No, that can't be right," she muttered, stumbling back. Wilson, the older deputy, had been quiet all night, just watching. "Ma'am, this boat is legal, registration is valid. This gentleman has done what's required." Karen tried to argue, but our HOA rules say motorboats off this part of the lake by 7. They cause erosion, scare wildlife. His cabin isn't painted the right color. I cut in. "I'm not in your HOA." Karen jabbed a finger at the shoreline. "All of this is our view corridor." Harris shook his head, radioed dispatch. "Parcel 22B is private lakefront, outside HOA overlays. County jurisdiction only." Karen's hand shook. For a moment, she looked small, and honestly, I felt a little bad for her. I offered her a bottle of water. She refused, then took it anyway and sat down because her knees gave out. Wilson asked if he could photograph the registration. "You want to see my life jackets too?" I joked, pulling out the bright red ones. Proud I had a small for my niece's birthday trip. Harris nodded, looked squared away. Karen shot up, hissing that I was lying about being careful, about scaring the loons. But the loons were floating right there, calm as could be. Wilson stepped in, complaints addressed. "Boat is lawful. Further issues need to be witnessed tonight. We have not." Karen seethed. "So I'm just supposed to let him get away with this?" "No, ma'am. You're supposed to be a neighbor who knows where your authority ends." Silence. Then Karen stormed off, footsteps snapping twigs. Water bottle still clutched in her fist. After they left, the adrenaline washed out of me like a tide. I sat on my dock, hands shaking, not from fear, but from being watched and judged. Knowing I was one bad move away from becoming the villain of her story, I whispered to my dad's old tackle box, "I'm trying, old man, to be strong without being cruel." Sun came up. Lake glassy as ever. Mary Ellis, my neighbor from across the cove, rode up with her grandson, Caleb, a kid who tried so hard his oarlocks squeaked. She brought blueberry muffins. "Thank me for helping shovel snow last winter. You're a good neighbor, Jacob," she said. "Don't let anyone tell you different." Those words hit deeper than the hate. Later, Mark, my oldest buddy, guy who refuses to take money for engine repairs, showed up. "You can pay me in barbecue," he joked, fixing my outboard. We laughed about Karen, the clipboard commander. He reminded me, "You can choose to be gentle, even with a strong motor." But Mark warned me to keep things locked tight. Kindness isn't leaving yourself wide open. The next day, I found another notice, this one bolder. "Boat violates community standards. Remove or face action." Mark snorted, "They just don't get it." I wrote a calm, polite letter to the HOA board, with a highlighted county map. "Thank you for your concern. My parcel is not within your HOA's territory. I operate my boat respectfully. If you see otherwise, talk to me directly. We're all neighbors." But then, as evening fell and a storm rolled in, Karen showed up again, not alone. This time, she'd hired a skiff with 2 burly guys and a big tow line, trying to impound my boat during a thunderstorm. I called 911. Lightning struck. Rain hammered the dock. Karen slipped, caught her wrist in the rope, started sliding toward the edge, panic in her eyes. "Kill the motor," I shouted. Skiff guy hesitated. Karen screamed. I lunged, grabbed her hand just as the rope burned her skin, braced my feet, and yanked her back from the water. For a split second, we just stared at each other, 2 soaked, angry humans, hearts thumping. "Why did you help me?" she gasped. "Because you're my neighbor," I said, and it was the truth. Deputies arrived, cuffed the hired muscle, asked if I wanted to press charges. I looked at Karen, shaking, scared. Her voice finally quiet, and said, "Not tonight. But this ends here." Next morning, the lake was misty, peaceful. Or so I thought. Karen left a letter at my gate. "You may have the law, but you don't have the neighborhood. We won't rest until you and your boat are gone." That's when a black SUV rolled up. Out stepped Bennett, the HOA's lawyer, with a business card and a threat. "Move your boat to the public marina or get buried in lawsuits. Even if you win, you lose peace." Karen, wrist bandaged, eyes blazing, spat. "You should have let me drown." "No, Karen," I said. "That's not what neighbors do." Mark arrived, backed me up, told Bennett they had no authority. A crowd gathered. Karen served me with a civil complaint. "Public nuisance. Destroys the view. Endangers wildlife." My chest tightened. But just as the pressure mounted, a young lawyer named Daniel Cross appeared, said he'd fought HOAs like this before, and the law was on my side. He filed counterclaims, trespassing, harassment, defamation. For the first time, hope flickered. But the war only escalated. Orange locks clamped on my boat, HOA protesters trespassing with bullhorns, a parade of signs demanding my removal. Every time, Daniel was there, winning injunctions, shoving the HOA back. Karen snapped, breaking into my dock at midnight with a crowbar, tried to smash my boat. Mark and I stopped her, under the moonlight. She broke down. "If I don't control the HOA, I'm nothing. My husband's gone. My kids won't call. This is all I have left." The deputies came, arrested her. Then, sirens across the cove. Mary's house was on fire. Arson. Not Karen. She was in custody. Someone else, part of a deeper game, targeting those who wouldn't sell out. Daniel uncovered the truth. The HOA was working with developers to buy out the lake for a luxury resort. My land, Mary's, stood in their way. That's why the harassment, the fire, the threats. With Mark and Daniel, we snuck into the HOA office, pulled the proof, emails, contracts, bribes. Bennett and Karen tried to stop us, even brought muscle, but the deputies arrived, arrested them all, and seized the evidence. The case blew up. The lake was saved. The community, finally, truly, came together. Even Mary, though her home was gone, sat with me and Caleb on the dock, saying, "You didn't just save your place, Jacob. You saved all of us." Now, when I watch the sun set on Pine Ridge Lake, I know peace isn't just quiet. It's the strength to fight for what matters, and the grace to forgive even those who tried to take it away. Because that's what makes us a real community, not just surviving side by side, but standing up when the storm comes. So, let me ask, where are you watching from? And what would you do if the peace you loved was threatened, not by strangers, but by the very neighbors you thought you knew? Share your story. Because out here, the only thing stronger than the lake is the people willing to protect it.